Hi friends, this is Mukesh Gupta, and today we are going to talk about four pathways to innovation. Now, there are one of the challenges that every organization faces when it comes to driving innovation is to identify the right problems. So, how do you go about identifying interesting problems? I spoke about this in my last video. I'll link it to the same at the in the notes. So how do we go about finding interesting problems that can potentially lead us to an innovative solution? So there are four ways to do that. First and foremost is look at problems that you are already facing and solve them. Now, I'm pretty sure that each one of us in our daily lives, when we go about in our work, there are many things that we complain about. Is there a way for you to kind of capture that? All the things that you complain about, all the things that your teams complain about individually, and have a total repository where everyone in your team kind of notes down what is it that they don't like or they hate or they want to be changed. These could be very simple things like, for example, how long does it take for a particular approval to happen, or how a particular process has been configured, or how a particular tool is so difficult to use, or how a particular way to do a certain thing is complicated, and whatever it is. So problems that you face day to day in your organization, these are problems that could potentially be solved by yourself or by getting a team of maybe 3, 4, 5 people together and solving them. These are the first level of problems that you should be looking at. These are as people call it, low hanging fruits, right? So they have multiple benefits of solving these problems. Number one, it improves your productivity in the organization by removing these roadblocks, by ensuring that you are able to address these issues and challenges that employees face, you face as a team, as an individual. What you're going to do is once and for all take care of the problem so that you don't have to worry about it again. You don't have to complain about it again. So it reduces your cognitive load, so to say, from a psychology perspective, as to know, to understand what it does. Second thing that it does is it creates forward momentum when it comes to innovation. Because you moved from a culture that continuously complains about stuff to a culture which actually does something about it. So which means that as a manager or as a leader who's leading teams, it is our responsibility to not only identify these top irritants, as I call them, and address them, but it is also our responsibility to provide the team with the necessary resources. When I say necessary resources, what I mean is agency to act on something, time to kind of find sit down and solve a particular thing for once and for all. Resources. So, for example, if there is something that cannot be solved right away by one person, and it needs a team of maybe a developer, a designer, somebody from the function to come together and address that, but it can be done maybe in a day or two, then that's something that we should definitely be thinking of, and not only allowing but enabling our team to go out and put together these small teams and solve or address these irritants. This also tells people that it is not just important to identify problems, but it is also important that they solve those problems. The third thing that it does is it makes it very obvious to everyone, and they learn how to see and identify problems. Instead of complaining about them, being intentional about being mindful and intentional about the problems that they're around them, right? So that's the first level of, or the first way to innovation. This is typically internal innovation for improving your own productivity and improving your own effectiveness. So the second way or second pathway to innovation is by observing problems around you. So what you've done first is look at what you are facing as a problem. Now, what you need to do is look at everyone around you and see what are the problems that they are facing. What are some of the things that they're complaining about? This could be, if you're an HRBP, these could be your employees or managers. If you are in customer support, it could be your customers. If you are in development, it could be your end users, and so on and so forth, right? So identify and observe what are some of the things that your constituents or your key stakeholders are complaining about, and do something about them. Now, this observation is not easy. It takes intentional effort, but that is the reason why the first part or first pathway to innovation is critical, right? So that gives you the ability to observe and note down. Look, observe and capture, observe, capture, observe, capture. Once you have done this multiple times over a period of time, let's say over a period of week, over a period of 10 days, or over a period of a month, whatever time frame that you want to look at, observe all the problems that these people face. And then figure out a way to prioritize them in terms of, how quickly can you solve them? What is the impact that it will create when you solve that problem for them? And how feasible it is for you, specifically in your team, to solve those problems, right? This is a pathway for you to come up with new products, come up with new services, come up with a combination of products and services that you can offer to a market. These could be ways for you to kind of help improve your overall customer satisfaction, which can then improve in terms of your retention, in terms of your cross-selling, upselling, the whole gamut, right? So the third pathway to innovation is anticipate a problem. Now, this takes a little bit of an effort from not just the team, but also the leaders of these teams. Now, what do I mean by anticipate a problem? All around us, there are trends at play. Dan Burrus, in his book, The Anticipatory Organization, talks about hard changes and soft changes, hard trends and soft trends. So these are trends which are kind of playing out in our world. So hard trends are trends like, for example, aging population. So irrespective of anything else that happens, this trend will play out. The population will age. So once they age, or once you know that the population, a bulk of population is going to age, what are some of the problems that they might face at that point in time? So population retiring, right? So that's another hard trend. Soft trends that he refers to are trends which could potentially play out, but there is a chance that they might not play out as well. So for example, enterprise level AI adoption across all organizations, leading to mass layoff of people, which leads to a lot of people losing jobs, which leads to a lot of people becoming freelancers. So this is a soft trend. The probability of it playing out is there, but it is not 100%, right? So as leaders, what we need to do is try and observe the trends that are playing out in our industry, the trends that are playing out for our customers' industries. What are some of the hard trends that are playing out in their industries right now? And if you are able to identify these hard trends or these soft trends, is there a way for you to anticipate what the trend would potentially lead your customers or your internal customers to have a problem with? Once you've anticipated what that problem could potentially be, you could then go about and solve that problem, or figure out a way to solve that problem. Now that's the third way, right? So this actually leads to breakthrough innovations. This leads to innovation which are, I would say, in a way, future-looking, right? So that's the area that we are looking at. So if you look at the first pathway, it was all about improving productivity. The second pathway was all about developing new products that you can sell to current existing customers. The third one could potentially be also about creating new markets. It could potentially create new product lines it could potentially create new business units, right? So the impact of the innovation that you're going to drive keeps increasing as you go along this path. Now, the fourth way to innovate, it requires leaders to kind of understand how influence works and how perception works. So the fourth problem is create a problem and solve it. Can you create a problem for your customers and solve it? Now, what do I mean by create a problem? I don't mean that you go and disrupt their world. What do I mean by saying create a problem is understand what is the status quo for your customers and figure out a way to make that status quo unbearably painful. Now, you can only do that if you compare it with something else, right? If you don't compare it with anything else, you may go and say, this is a burning platform, or if you don't change, you are going to have a massive setback, or you may not be able to survive, or whatever. That doesn't work, right? So in order for you to change this perception of status quo from being this comfortable, nice place that they are right now into a painful place where they want to do something about their status quo, you need to have a better vision. Now, what that vision could be, it could come from the previous innovations that you have driven, right? When I said anticipate change and anticipate a problem and solve that. So that solution could potentially be one of the things that you use to make the current status quo a problem. It may not be, it may not necessarily be the case. That's one way to do it. If you can figure out any way to make the current status quo of your customers extremely painful, and also find a way to show them that there is a better vision or there is a better place that the customers can be, which which is so good that it kind of makes sense to make this effort to move from the current status quo and move towards this vision that you're painting. And what you need to also understand is that it's not just enough to paint to make the status quo painful by showing a powerful vision of where they should be leading to or they should be transforming to, but also how you are the only one who can actually help them do this transformation. You are the only one who can take them through this journey to this new place, which they will benefit significantly from. So any innovation that comes out of this is typically breakthrough and market making, right? So these are the 4 pathways to drive innovation, and each one that succeeds the previous one increases the impact of the innovation on your business and on your customer's business. And each one is incrementally tougher to do. And that is the reason why it is important that you follow this in this sequence, so that you're building muscle. You're building muscle and you're building a culture where innovation is possible. Not only is it possible, it is the way of life. And you cannot run without walking. You cannot walk without crawling. And you cannot crawl until you start seeing things around you that you can actually start solving, right? So the 4 pathways: number 1, solve problem that you already face. Number 2, observe the problems that people around you are facing and solve them. 3rd, anticipate problems that your customers or people around you might face and solve them. 4th one, create a problem and solve them. I hope it was useful. I hope it was helpful. And until next time, this is Mukesh signing off. Have fun.